On this episode of the Sports Opinions podcast, Olympic gold medalist Maurice Greene joins the show as we talk about his illustrious career, the state of American sprinting, and a little bit Los Angeles Rams talk towards the end. But I have to remind you, like I do every week, there is this great website that you sports fans need to visit called overtimeheroics.com, jam-packed with great sports articles, and it has an amazing forum that you can sign up for and interact with a bunch of other awesome sports fans just like yourself. So without any further ado, cue the intro. What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions podcast. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta, and with me today is somebody that, if anyone that listens to this podcast, they know that I ran track, high school, college, and this was someone that definitely, I could say, inspired me to really go after that dream. I was a 12-year-old kid watching this man do what he did best, running really fast. It's a really big honor and privilege to have him on here. He is a former world record holder in the 100-meter run, 5-time world champion, 4-time Olympic medalist, and that includes a gold medal in the 100 meters in the 2000 Olympic Games. Maurice Greene, what's going on, Maurice?
How you doing? Good to be here.
I'm doing really, really well. And yeah, honestly, watching you as a 12-year-old win the Olympic Games was really cool. My mother was a big sports fan, bigger than my dad, actually, and she always loved watching Olympics. She loved watching track. And just seeing you do that as a 12-year-old, just got done with my first year doing track in middle school, and then watching that just made me want to get to that level. Did you know you were having that type of impact when you were just going out there and running really fast?
No, not really. But don't say 12 years old, though. That makes me sound old now. You make it seem like you were so long ago. But no, really, I really didn't, because I was so consumed and just training and trying to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve in the sport. And I just, my thing is, I wanted to go out there and compete and put in an imprint of everybody's mind, like, man, that was just a beautiful thing I just saw. So that was more of what I was out there trying to do. But I realize now, because people tell me, that I inspired a lot of people, which makes me feel great.
It definitely, and I feel like that's partially, like, as we all, get older, that was part of the dream, was to be a little bit influential out there. And you definitely, when you were in a race, everyone knew you had a swagger about you. You definitely had that persona that you were out there, and it didn't matter who was lining up against you, what race it was, how old you were, how old they were. You had that swagger that I was going to win, I was going to dust you, and I was going to be smiling at the end. Was that?
Yeah. That's really how I thought. It didn't matter. I didn't care about anybody else. I thought about myself, and I was like, hey, y'all out here today, y'all about to get in trouble, because I'm about to be on one in just a little bit.
So let's go back 2000, the Olympics. You had, you were already a breakout. You were the best sprinter, 100-meter runner in America for a little while at that point. What is your memory of that race, that experience going into the Olympics there, and achieving the dream of every single track runner that's ever stepped foot on a track?
Yeah, I went into – I literally, like, days before we got there, I was having a conversation with my manager, and I was like, nobody is going to take this dream away from me but myself. And I was telling him how I have to be when I'm there. I'm like, I have to just be away from everything, because I don't want no one else to mess this up for me, because the only way I'm going to lose this is if I mess it up. And that's not going to happen. I'm going to take full advantage of this. But that was my mindset going into it. And just being there, it is very hard to put into words of how great you feel because there's no words in the English language or the French language or anything else. I mean, to explain it to someone and they'll be like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, there's nothing that I can say or, try to explain to someone and they can feel as half as good as I felt when I was there preparing for it. But I was so calm in that hectic environment that I was so comfortable. Like, this is what I was born for. I was born for this moment here. That's what I felt like.
Now, fast forward after you win and then the podium happens and you're standing up there. Is there just an overwhelming sense of pride for you, your family, all your friends, everyone that's been riding with you? And a lot of people always say when the national anthem is playing, there is a huge national pride that flows through you. Is that a legit thing? Is that something where, as you're hearing the Star Spangled Banner, you're obviously rocking the USA stuff? Is that something that is really just emulating from you, just a lot of national pride as you're standing around everyone, all the best other athletes in the world?
No, it is. And I believe the reason is because even though, you're in a sport and, when you're out there running, not even at the Olympics, you represent yourself and whatever company that you're with and your family and things like that. But when you are in the Olympic Games and things like that, you really realize that you are representing a whole nation. Like, millions of people are at their house and they're all got their hopes on you because you're from their country and you want to win. They want you to win for them just so they can be like, yeah, we won. And when you're on that podium, like, I don't know that weight. I don't think it's a weight, but it gets lifted off of you because now you be like, I accomplished it for them. I accomplished it for my country. I did it for my country. I did it for my family. I did it for, I actually accomplished all of this stuff for all of these people. And it's just overwhelming.
Now, you're remembered definitely for winning that 100-meter at the 2000 Sydney Games. You also won a gold medal with 3 other athletes in the 4x1 as well. What was it like for you walking in there? Those other 3 still had to be nervous as hell. They want to get their gold. You're walking in there, the fastest man on the planet at that point, definitely. What is it like walking in there going, I have my gold? Are you hungrier to try and get this gold for these other 3 as well? Are you more?
No.
What is that moment?
Yeah, most definitely. Because I was a type of athlete, and I say if I would go back and change anything in my life, is after I accomplished anything, I would take a moment and live in that moment, because I was the type of, I accomplished something and I immediately put it in the back of my mind, like, yep, that's done. Now I'm going to the next. And I automatically, like, okay, I got my gold medal in the 100. Okay, that's over with. Now I'm focusing on the relay for my team and our country to win this relay, because you know the problems we have in these relays. Yeah. And I told them, I was like, look, y'all bring it, we coming home with it. Doesn't matter. We got it. We have to get this around.
Now, can we attribute that kind of mentality of, I got the medal, now time to the next one, in the way that we train as athletes? Because I'm obviously was never at the level you were at, but I was a Division I runner. And it's kind of, it doesn't matter what level you are. You have bad races to your standard or bad plays in certain sports. And we're always taught, get it out your brain, onto the next one. Pretend like you've been there before when you accomplish something. Would you kind of attribute what you're saying right there to that type of mentality that's just ingrained in us as athletes?
I say this. I think that type of mentality is ingrained in the great athletes. Yep. And realize great athletes you don't have to be a great athlete to get to, the Olympics. You could be a great athlete just being in college and doing the thing, great at that time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you have to reach the pinnacle to be great, because what I think is great, somebody else might not believe is great. You understand what I'm saying? It's what you believe. But I mean, when people have that mentality, they reach their levels of greatness and do the things that they're supposed to do. And but I think it's always, it might be a little uncomfortable for people too, to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
Because you could get lost in it though.
Yep.
Like you have some athletes, they just did something and they like, I accomplished it, I did it, but they don't ever get better.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever move on, so they get stuck there. But you have the great athletes who accomplish it, and they're like, nope, I'm not satisfied with that. I want to do something even better. I want to do more. And you immediately start working towards the next one.
Definitely. And I think you can tell that you're a runner. And I feel like this is kind of a little more to us runners, where we are always chasing ourselves. You're told from a very young age when you start running, don't look left, don't look right, look straight, and then look at that watch at the end. Beat yourself.
Yeah.
PR. And I feel like that's a very runner-esque answer with what you gave, because it's all about getting that next PR. Don't be satisfied here. Get that next PR. And I feel like that is such a way that we think as runners. We're always chasing ourselves, not the person next to us.
Yeah, and that's it. I would go to meets and not know who I'm running against or anything. Even when I was in high school, I wasn't asking my coach what lane I'm in and what who am I running against. I didn't ever go look. I didn't care about that, because if you think about it, you're really competing with yourself, and it's a self-gratification thing. It's a self-motivational thing. It's okay, I have to improve myself if I want to do this. So why think about someone else or what lane you're in or anything else? You have to focus totally on yourself and compete against yourself and try to make yourself better. And if you can do that, then you move up.
Yep, 100%. So I have to ask you, obviously winning the Olympics, an amazing moment in your life, probably one of your crowning achievements. Besides the Olympics, what was your best moment in your running career? Was it when you got the world record in the 100 or the world record in the 60? You've had a few world records in your time.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I think each time that I accomplished something, it meant something special to me. I would say the first time I went to the World Championships, my first time winning the World Championships, that has a significant place. And then I remember a race in '97. I won the U.S. Nationals, right? And then one of my best friends that I grew up with was getting married. So I left there to go be with my best friend to be his best man in his wedding. And then I had to fly to Paris to go run a race. And but I mean, I was it wasn't 97, it was 95. And so, I mean, I'm just coming on the scene and I win the U.S. Nationals. And then I go to Paris and I'm running against these people in the world, and then I get beat. And then I look at the paper in the morning and it says Canadian Donovan Bailey puts Maurice Greene and rest of sprinters in his place. And I was so hot. And so then we went to, it was Lausanne, Switzerland was the next meet. And it was like 5 days after that race. And I worked so hard that week, but nobody expected me to go out there and win this race that we was going to, because they were like, oh, he's just a fluke. It ain't going to be anything. And I can remember it was raining. It was cold. And I wasn't in a good lane or anything else. And I went out there and I ran 9:87. And that's what really like, we got to really watch out for this boy now. I mean, and so that race there has a significant, place in my heart also, because it was when they really started realizing like this boy is going to be something to deal with. But then I'd go and break the world record, break my indoor world record. All of those things mean something to me. So to pick out one thing out of all the things I've accomplished, I mean, I would say I'm the luckiest track and field athlete to ever live, because I accomplished every single thing that I could possibly accomplish in this sport.
Yeah, you definitely did.
And I didn't leave anything to chance. Like, I accomplished everything, and I think so. That's when I retired. It was like, yeah, I could retire because I've done it all. It's hard for people to retire if they haven't done it all.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned Donovan Bailey, because, you were steamed about losing to him. Donovan Bailey seems to be the forgotten great sprinter. With everyone's so caught up on Usain Bolt, Asafa Powell, even, yourself, Carl Lewis, Michael Johnson, so many greats. And Donovan Bailey was absolutely dominant in his time. Losing to him isn't anything terrible. And it just shows the mentality of the elite athlete, and that there is no starstruckness. It's, we step on this line, I don't care who you are, what you are, I'm beating you. And you need that mentality.
Yeah. I was watching, and when I was coming up, and I watched a lot of things from other people, and I can remember I was watching something with Andre Casey. He was another great runner, a great sprinter, but he said one time is, I can't look at anybody else greater than me when I'm competing against them, and I that stuck with me. that stuck with me to this day. But and then I can remember one of my first biggest races was when I went to Texas Relays. And at first they didn't want me to run in the meet, but then at the last minute somebody scratched out and they asked me if I wanted to run. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, Carl Lewis is going to be running. I was like, good. I want him there. And then they was like, yeah, all these people going to be there. I'm like, great. And then, I get in the race and then I win. And everybody's stunned, like, who is this kid here? Because I was just coming on the scene. Mm-hmm. And that tells you there, like, oh, yeah, this man is great, but he puts on his pants the same way you do. He puts on his shoes. He might go left shoe, right shoe, or you go right shoe, left shoe. It doesn't matter. But you can't put them on no pedestal or see them above you, because then you're always at a deficit. So I always saw that we were always equal. I was equal to whoever I was lining up against. I was equal or better, and they was going to have to go through hell and hot water to beat me, because I'm going to go through everything to win this race.
And you, like we've said it plenty of times, you need that type of mentality. Now, I'm looking on the horizon now, because currently world sprinting, we were so used to a time where Americans were the standard in 100, 200. The islands and Jamaica, they always had great sprinters. But then all of a sudden, Asafa Powell really takes over. And then you have Usain Bolt, and he is just out of this world with the way he does what he does. And now, obviously, he's, world record holder in both 100 and 200 earned. He was fantastic. Yeah. But I'm now looking, being an American myself, where is the next great American sprinter coming from? There seems to be a void right now in just sprinting in general of that superstar, as guys like Justin Gatlin get a little bit older and, Usain Bolt retired, and I'm looking at a list here, and the guy that pops up, Noah Lyles, seems to be the guy that is on the top of the list for both the 100 and 200, 9.86 in the 100 this year, 1950, which is fast as hell. Don't get me wrong, but for what we're used to seeing in dominance by American sprinters, where do you know any young names on the horizon? Maybe I don't, that we can look forward to?
Well, I think one name, one of my young proteges, I would like to say, I think he's going to be really good. Christian Coleman is going to be good. I think he's going to win the 100 this year at the World Championships later on this year. I think he's going to be one to come around to stay for a little bit. And Noah Lyles is going to be great also. I think Noah he still has a lot to learn, and he has a lot to fix. Even though he's running fast, if he fixes some things, he's going to really be tough. Because from 60 to 100, he's great. But the beginning half of his race, it always puts him out a little bit, and he always closes good, but sometimes it's not enough. He'll need a little bit more room, just depending on. So if he can fix that 0 to 60, he's really going to be tough to beat. But I mean, I think with the U.S. sprinting, remember we always have 1 and 2, especially with the guys. We always have 1 or 2 somewhere around in the mix. But lately, Jamaica. I mean, Usain is a freak of nature. He's 6'5" with the same turnover speed as me.
And he runs like a 400-meter runner. Like his form is 400 to 800. Really, his
I wish he would have ran the 400 because I think he would have murdered that record also.
Oh,
like literally. I mean, that's just. I mean, okay, he ran ridiculously fast in the 200. So if he cruises through the first 200 and then he actually runs hard the second 200, what would his time be? Something ridiculous.
Unthinkable. Really, it's unthinkable what he could. We could definitely see somebody. I can't even think, like near 40 seconds. It would be insane.
If I was him, I would have had the mentality to I want the 1, 2, and the 4. Now he can. I mean, there's still a question who's the greatest sprinter of all time. But I always say you can't say who's the greatest sprinter of all time because there's eras, and if you put all of those eras together, then you will see, who's the best. Because everybody dealt with stuff. Jesse Owens dealt with stuff completely different than what I dealt with. Carl Lewis didn't deal with what Jesse Owens was dealing with. So who knows what Carl Lewis would have did when Jesse Owens was running? Who knows what I would have did if Jesse Owens was running? Or what I would have did when Carl was running? Or how Carl would have reacted to how I was running? Or what Usain Bolt would have did if me and him would have ran against each other. Because I'm the type of runner that if someone moves in the race, I can move with them, and I'll move just enough to stay in front of you. And that's just how I was. That's just how I was built. So if I would have been running against Usain, who knows what I would have ran? But who knows what Usain would have ran if he was running with me? So I don't look at it who's the greatest sprinter ever. I look at who was the greatest sprinter in their era. And my era, I lasted for a really long time, but Usain lasted for a good long time. Also, Carl lasted for a long time. See, reason why I think people forget about Donovan because he didn't last that long. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he won the Olympics, he won a world championship, but that was it.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point because you have to also look at training, nutrition, lifting programs. Advancement in spikes, the advancement in the track itself. There is a lot of factors, especially going into a lot. And I think for sprinters, especially, the lifting program and nutrition is absolutely massive because you were
right, and it's getting better and better each year. So, like I had a nutritionist and I had a cook. Did Carl Lewis have that when he was running? Probably not.
Probably not.
I know the runners before him didn't have it. They all had other jobs and they would come out and do other stuff, And people would ask me, I would get asked sometimes is how fast can a human run? And I'm always telling them, I mean, I don't ever put a time on how fast someone can run. As I say this, as time goes on, man gets faster. Man gets faster because technology improves. So now the tracks will improve, the equipment, the shoes and everything will improve. The human body will improve because of your training techniques. Because now it's not about training harder, it's about training smarter. When we train people now, we look at people's heart rate monitor and heart rate going through the workout. So I will know when this person can give me maximum capacity and then when I have to back off. this athlete, of training this athlete, and things like that. Like, so it's about training.
That's crazy.
Smarter.
I couldn't imagine coaches backing off ever back in the day. It was run hard.
I'm gonna run you until you die.
Don't complain. Do what you're told. That's about it. So the fact that you're an old school guy saying back off just goes to show where we are now.
Yeah, like a lot has changed. A lot has changed. So, I mean, then you study the film, and then you look at things and see how you can get better.
Now, you talk about the advancements and the things that we had and things that you had and were able to get, because one of the things about track is there's not a lot of money in it unless you are a Maurice Greene or a Carl, not even Carl, because Carl doesn't have great things, but that's where the money comes from, winning and getting sponsorships and getting those purses.
If you're at the top, you're good. If you're in the middle and at the bottom, it's really tough. That's the tough thing about our sport, which I wish they would change.
Now, would you be behind something? Because there was something awesome going on, and it lasted for only a summer. And it was the Tracktown USA series where they had 4 teams. I think they competed in 4 different events. It was a big invitational, and then they awarded a winner at the end. I've always wanted to see a kind of, you make your teams, and then you do dual meets. We've lost dual meets, and it started where colleges took it away, even though they were a big thing then. High schools still do it. But I think that you would see more people. Running is by far the biggest sport on the planet. I think you would see more people than you think that would love to see Christian Coleman on one team, Noah Lyles on another, with maybe Johan Blake still racing. And you know what I mean? Just some of these teams, put them all on the line. One's representing the New York Thunder and the other's representing the Los Angeles whatever. And then they're racing. And then a 4x4 to win that dual meet, which is the most exciting thing in sports, the finishing of a 4x4 to win a meet. Like, I think people would pay and people would watch that. And would you be behind something like that?
Oh, no, I've said this. I said this before. If we can get like 4 or 5 billionaires to own a team, because if people affiliate themselves with teams. Mm-hmm. Not individuals. I mean, they like individuals on teams, but you can like one person, but you like this team way more. Yeah, I hope he plays good, but shoot, I want my team to win.
Yep.
It's all about a team thing, and we gravitate to the team-oriented things than the individual aspects of things. And I've always said, if we could get 4 or 5 billionaires to own a team, right? And you run it just like a football team, a basketball team, or a baseball team. And I am 100% that our sport will grow so fast and be amongst the other sports, because there's a lot of closet track and field fans, but everybody's a track and field fan. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody gonna stand up and be like, "Yep, I'm a track and field fan." But there's a lot of people when it's on, everybody like, "Hey, I like watching it. It's great."
Yeah,
but they ain't gonna stand up and shout and be like, "Yeah."
So the Diamond League kind of gives us something right now. But my issue with the Diamond League is it's on Universal Sports. I would say a quarter of the country gets that channel, and that's really highballing.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
They don't. I don't think they publicize it. No. I don't think they publicize our sport enough.
Not at all.
I mean, yeah, we on TV all the time in Europe and things like that. But this is America. We're supposed to be the best team, right? America's supposed to have the best team, but we can, we only get it on Universal Sports, or now they call it the Olympic Channel.
Yeah,
and. Not everybody can see. I used to, even when I was competing, I would be walking around, man, when you going to compete here? Oh, we got to meet this weekend. I didn't even know about it. Like, yeah, come on out, watch us. Like, they don't market the sport the way I think it should be. It needs better marketing.
Yeah, and and it's at a time now, I think, in American running in general, where we have, it always shifts where we'll be pretty damn good in middle distance. We're always good in sprints. Sprints are just a given, but then we'll be good in middle distance and we'll be okay in longer. Good in longer, okay in the middle. This is the first time in a long time that I've seen we have a 1,500-meter Olympic champion in Matt Centrowitz in his prime. Evan Yeager doing the 3,000-meter steeplechase, and he's fantastic. Galen Rupp is still a monster. Bernard Lagat can still race. We have a team that we could put together, and if you split a bunch of these guys up and then invite the rest of the world to be in this league, and maybe even if the people that want to win the big purses in the Diamond League, go ahead. The big shots can go be there. But one of the biggest things is ESPN throws on the SEC championship all the time, and that is so exciting to watch. Or the Hayward race when they do the Prefontaine Classic. That has a huge number. If they can make teams of those types of athletes, the collegiate athletes that maybe aren't at the elite level yet, but you're still going to get a 10 flat from these guys, they're going to watch that. It's going to be watched.
Because it's pure competition. They like to see the competition, and it's just pure competition against each other, and they like to see them just compete. And and then if you get invested into a team, you definitely do. Yep, I got to watch my team this week. Yeah, it's going to be great. I wish they could do it. I wish.
Maurice, I know you still got influence. Come on now. Come on. Start rubbing some elbows. Start doing something. Start putting whispers in people's ears in the track circuit.
No, but you know my problem is you can't always go through the front door. You got to go through the back door with people. and the way I do, I'm just coming through the front door. I'm like, look, you need to do it this way. And it might turn some people off. So I might not be the best spokesperson for it because, just how I go about it because I'm so passionate about stuff. So.
And I think a part of the issue is also with the sponsors because Brooks has the Brooks Beast team in middle distance. You have the Nike Oregon Project, and you have certain teams that are sponsored by these big names, and I don't think they want to let those guys go. And that would
well, you don't have to let them go, though. You don't have to let them go. Okay, it's just like this. Okay, think of this. You have basketball. Right, Zion Williams he's going to the Pelicans, right? Yep. But he just signed a shoe deal to be having Brand Jordan on, right? Mm-hmm. But the whole NBA is Nike, right? Nike has the NBA, so it's no different than that. They can still represent these athletes. The shoe companies can still represent these athletes. But it could be a league, and the league is represented by one other company. And then you have an owner who owns the team who wants them to wear whatever. And then they have, they'll wear whatever shoe company or whatever. They have their shoes on. They have their uniform on from their team. They can do the same thing. Why is it any different? Why make it any different?
I love your dream, and I want it to happen. I really do want this to happen because I've just been waiting one day to see primetime the Houston Thunder feet racing against the Minnesota
Hey, that sounds like a good name, too.
What? Houston Thunder? Tell me that wouldn't work. Come on now.
The
billionaires that are listening to this.
when you have their commercial, you just have a couple of them running, and you hear the thunder of the feet hitting on the pavement and stuff like that. That's pretty good.
Could you imagine in a stadium every time one of the Thunder feet won an event, just be like, noises of thunder?
Yep, that would be great.
Man, I got to make $1 billion to make one of these teams. We gotta get this podcast big.
Let's what else we gotta do? Let's get it off. Let's get it going.
So we're going to jump into one of the big organized sports, and this is one that really restricts sponsorship. So it's funny we talked about it. NFL, you're an LA Rams fan. Now, does this come back from when they were originally the LA Rams? Were you a fan back then?
No, I wasn't. Because I'm from Kansas City,
okay,
but I lived in LA for a while. But I actually trained a couple of guys, that were on the team. I trained a lot of football players, for speed and things like that. But Robert Woods, I really like
one of my favorite receivers in the game right now is Robert Woods. When he came out, I'm a Jets fan, so when he was on the Bills, it kind of killed me. It kind of killed me, but I always said he is the prototypical possession receiver. He's not going to drop a single ball, and he's quick enough and good enough in every single route to be a really effective guy. I was super happy when he got a real chance with the Rams.
Hey, when the year before, right? The year before, not last year, but the year before, if he wasn't on there, they wouldn't have got as far as they got.
Without a doubt.
I mean, he was making the crucial catches, and I see him as like Rod. You remember the Denver Broncos? Rod
Smith. Rod Smith, baby.
Yeah. Rod Smith is one of the most underrated receivers, but when you needed something, he was always there.
I'm going to give you a name. Who I see a lot in him, and a lot of people are probably going to have to Google this name, but he was a big Detroit Lions receiver, Herman Moore. Herman Moore is one of the best position receivers to ever be forgotten because Barry Sanders was so damn good, but nobody at all was really a quarterback for the Lions, and Herman Moore was a 1,000-yard guy every year in his prime, and Robert Woods reminds me a lot of Herman Moore in just every single way.
Yeah, but it's just so many superstars on the Rams team that it is actually not a lot enough to go around. Mm-hmm. But Robert Woods, I like Robert Woods. He's a good guy.
He's great. So with your Rams fandom, were you disappointed last year that they did not make a Super Bowl run? Because that team had all the makings of at least gets there.
No, they remember. No, they were in the Super Bowl last year. They just lost to New England.
Yep.
And New England out-coached them and just outplayed them from start to finish. It made the Rams look like a college team, and the New England Patriots look like a NFL team, and that's what it looked like. I believe now, even though I'm a Rams fan, and the things that happened with the Rams and the New Orleans Saints of what happened in that game, if the New Orleans Saints would have won, I think they would have beat New England. But I think just the coaching staff. I think the coaching staff is. Remember, they're young. The coaching staff and the Rams, they're young. They have a lot of great players, and they were just out coached. They wasn't prepared for that.
One of their great players, Todd Gurley, who is an all-world running back, can't stay on the field. And that's a big problem. And one of the issues, I think, in the Super Bowl is they had him dressed, and they said they were going to use him. They didn't hand him the ball once, which told me he was really hurt, number one. But
was he? Because he was saying he wasn't hurt.
And the thing is, if you're going to suit him up, give him the ball 7 times in the beginning of the game to make that threat real. They just
remember at the beginning of the game, he came in. At the beginning, they gave it to him like 3 times. He got yardage, and then they took him out. He didn't what is going on? I don't understand. Why you not letting this guy do that? He just sit there. He riding the bike like, hey, am I gonna go back in or not? But I don't know. So maybe they know something I don't.
Can Todd Gurley stay healthy? That's the real question, right?
Well, can any football player stay healthy? I mean, football is such a brutal sport that you're always a play away from injury. So, I mean, it's tough. And remember, he had a terrible injury coming out of college. Mm-hmm. So, it's tough. I hope so. But, I hope so.
Now, Cooper Kupp is coming back from his injury. He was, I think, a big factor last year because Jared Goff really made him a safety blanket. Cooper Kupp really rose with Jared Goff together. And Cooper Kupp getting hurt, I think, hurt them, especially in the Super Bowl, because that was his third down safety blanket. With him coming back, does that really elevate the whole team again? He's not the best wide receiver in the league, but he's just super important in terms of fit for that team. Kind of an Ed McCaffrey. Let's continue with the Broncos throwbacks. Kind of an McCaffrey type of thing where Ed McCaffrey wasn't the most talented player, but he made every damn catch. Maybe Wayne Corbett. We're talking about my Jets too. So is he super important and his comeback super important to this team?
I think so. I think everybody that comes back for them is going to be super important because I think they have a void now that they like, you know what? They were so outclassed there. Now they got something to prove. Because remember, all through the season, they was great. They was like, woo, this team rolling. Like, what in the world?
Greatest show on turf 2.0.
and then it comes down to the time, and it's like, this ain't the same team. What is going on? So now I feel like they feel they have something to prove. So now everybody, if they can get everybody back healthy and, you know, improve, they'll be a lot more prepared.
So I just want to ask you, you know, before we close out, this is going to be our last topic, because you mentioned about football always being a play away from a guy getting hurt, which is true. But we've seen a lot more non-contact injuries lately. And I want to get your opinion on this because you were a super high-level athlete, trained extremely hard, pinnacle of your craft. One thing I've noticed is a lot more players and a lot of these great athletes are asking for less time full speed. And when I look at it, and from my training, and I played some football too, for me, that's one of the detrimental things, because you're now telling these guys who barely take the exhibition seriously, the 4 games beforehand, and they're not hitting during camp, they're not going full speed, and then week 1, boom, they turn it on. I think that that's attributing to a lot of the non-contact injuries and a lot of more of the injuries, because these guys are basically walking around for a full summer in terms of their fitness level, and then they're turning it on. And then I think in the first few weeks, we see so many non-contact injuries. Is not going full speed hurting them more than helping them right now?
I think so. And I'm a true believer of, you have to prepare your body for what you really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Now, what I mean by that is, if you want to run, you know, at a top end speed for, you know, 30, 40 meters, you have to prepare your body. You have to do that a couple of times in practice. You're not going to just be able to go, you know, 10, 20 meters all the time and then expect when you got to go 40, you're going to be able to hold it and, you know, get your body to be there. Yep. So I believe you have to prepare your body for what you wanted to do, for when you want to start performing. So you have to take some hits in training camp. You got to take some of that beaten up stuff. So when you get into the season and you get into preseason and things like that, your body is used to it, and now you can move on and build up that stamina in that sport that you need for that.
Maurice, you have no idea how much better I feel now that you agree with me on that.
Yeah.
But with that, unfortunately, we're going to close out this show. Maurice Greene, that was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it was good. I had a good time. You know, we should do it again. You know, I have some things coming up, so I can't talk about them now, but I will want to, you know, tell everybody in the world some of the things that we got coming up. But I just can't say anything right now.
When you got those coming up, you got to let me know, because we'll gladly have you on. Again, Maurice Greene, former world record holder in the 100-meter. He's a 5-time world champion in 100, 200, 4x1, 4-time Olympic medalist, a gold medalist in the 2000 Sydney Games in the 100-meter. Just unbelievable amount of accolades. Thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm Alex Cuesta, host of the Sports Opinions podcast. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @A_Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30, Instagram SportsOpinions30. Go visit the Facebook page and look this podcast up anywhere where anyone can find the podcast. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, any of those spots. And last but not least, Maurice, we really got to get going on that track league. I feel like we have a great idea here. We got to find some billionaires, man.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. I'm going to start looking. I'm going to look through my Rolodex right now.
The Rolodex. There it is. And you talked about sounding old in the beginning.
I know it.
But once again, everyone, this was the Sports Opinions podcast. Have a good one, everybody.